Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fire weather briefing for Tuesday, July 3rd. My name is Corby Dickerson. I am a meteorologist here with the National Weather Service in Missoula, Montana. These two pictures I've included as our lead-in slide kind of represent where we've been and what we've seen today. This is just shy of 9 a.m. this morning on Logan Pass Visitors Center webcams. We have snow falling. We actually had a little bit of accumulation yesterday. And that kind of describes the cool, wet weather we've been faced with this late June and now the first couple days of July. But changes are on the way. Speaking of changes, here's our new fire weather threat matrix. A little something new. We were trying to kind of summarize the fire weather impacts for the next 5 or so days. I didn't change this really at all from what the previous briefing on Sunday had done, which is highlighting the southwest Montana zones and then west central Montana zones as well by Friday for a threat of hot temperatures, low RH, and gusty afternoon winds. It's a moderate fire weather concern, but it's certainly worth mentioning since we're going to quickly rise 25 to 30 degrees over the next couple of days. So this graphic will look a little bit new to you guys. I'm going to try and use mixing ratio instead of RH. It represents a deeper layer, more perhaps accurate representation of moisture in the atmosphere. So the blues are the dry conditions, and then it goes to moist conditions in green, and then it goes to really moist conditions in white and red. And so it kind of shows you the boundary areas of where moisture exists in a deep layer above the mountaintops. So this is kind of in the cloud layer. So you can think of this as areas where there's likely to be clouds, and if there's a disturbance or some convective forcing, we could see thunderstorms. And I'll describe that in each image as we go forward. So for Independence Day, call it absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, celebratory, whatever you want. It looks like an absolutely delightful day. Temperatures smack dab right on normal, dry, some afternoon clouds, maybe a little bit of breeziness. All together, a beautiful day to celebrate with your family and friends. Overnight, however, we start to see a little bit of an increase in moisture across the area, and by early Thursday morning, it looks like we could see our first bout of nocturnal convection. It's weak. A weak impulse moving through. It's dragging moisture from the Sierra Nevadas across Nevada and across Idaho. It's possible it could get really wrung out by the time it gets here, but the synoptics of it, so looking at the pattern and then looking at the dynamic at play, it seems plausible we could see a few rumbles of thunder and then some virga showers and maybe a few showers early Thursday morning. Those clouds could have an effect on our temperatures, but still, it looks like by the afternoon there's going to be a bit of a drying going on across the atmosphere, and we should see a hot, partly cloudy kind of day. Meanwhile, I'll draw your attention to two more features of interest on this map. Looking at Thursday afternoon, down in the desert southwest in the Four Corners area, you'll see all the reds. And that's the monsoon starting to pick up, starting to increase moisture. We're starting to see thunderstorm development going on each day. And so this is going to be an active piece of the puzzle going forward. Well, probably for the rest of the summer, but at least now in the immediate short term or in the midterm looking at this week, we're seeing some monsoonal moisture starting to build up and the possibility of thunderstorms down there. Also of note is the moisture off the coast of California. That's actually some moisture being drawn into California from what is now Hurricane Fabio. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in another image. So I did say hot and dry for Thursday. Well, how hot and how dry? Basically take these images and copy them from Thursday and you can put them on Friday. Humidity might be a tick or two higher just because of increased cloud cover, which day we get nocturnal convection, what kind of debris clouds are left, who gets rain, all of those factors. All things considered, expect humidity values to bottom out in the mid-teens to upper teens across west central Montana, southwest Montana, and then also over in south central Idaho, or in north central Idaho areas there. Up in northwest Montana, things should stay a little bit more moist with humidity values sitting in the 20% range. That's with temperatures that are going to be pretty darn close to 30 degrees warmer than today. So it's going to be a pretty rapid warm up as we go from these below normal temperatures to above normal temperatures by Thursday. And like I said, a carbon copy of this expected for Friday. Speaking of that Friday, here is Friday afternoon. Increasing clouds, perhaps some late day thunderstorms. You can see that moisture stream coming up from California. That is remnant moisture from Hurricane Fabio. And that's going to get drawn up by a Pacific Coast trough that's lurking off the West Coast all week and is finally expected to slide westward across Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, and then into the Northern Rockies Friday night into Saturday. This moisture tap could prove interesting. It could also just prove just another source of moisture. We'll have to see how it evolves and how much moisture could be drawn up from Fabio. Could add to a little bit more moistness to the thunderstorms. Hard to tell it this far out, so we'll just keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, you see the pinks and reds down in the desert southwest. That's a lot of thunderstorm activity that's possible down there that we could start to see during each of the afternoons. Still not coming up this far north because of that trough, and the flow pattern doesn't really support it moving up into western Montana. But it's always something we have to keep an eye out on. Over the weekend, that trough moves through and suppresses the ridge farther to the south, and you can see those blues return right back into western Montana and north central Idaho. Northern Rockies will be under a drier flow with normal temperatures, which sits in Missoula, for example, right around 80, 81, 82 degrees. And for most areas, it's going to be in the lower 80s. So it looks like a dry, warm, nice kind of weekend. Afterwards, things get kind of interesting. I put up this all too familiar 500 millibar chart. You notice there are two areas circled, one across the southwest United States and one across the southeast United States. This is a very large mass of high pressure. It looks like the high pressure ridge kind of gets separated into two formed centers of high pressure. This happens in kind of an anomalous way because it looks like there's enough energy in the northwestern Pacific jet stream to suppress the ridge, and that kind of expands the high pressure. What that means for us? More of the same of what we were expecting from this weekend, that being near normal temperatures, breezy, dry afternoons. Doesn't look like we have a lot of chance for moisture, at least on the surface and looking at this map, but it's possible there could be moisture moving through the flow. We could end up with some scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms, just depending on what the Pacific jet stream brings us. This type of flow is very difficult for any monsoonal moisture from the desert southwest to advect northward. But it's also a very favorable flow for easterly waves to pass across Mexico and further enhance the North American monsoon circulation, helping to further moisten the atmosphere down in the desert southwest, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, even into California. Could play a factor in our summer, just depends on how this high pressure goes as we move further into July. Looking at the rest of that next week, 11th through the 17th, the outlook kind of favors above normal temperatures. I'm not as confident in that. I think we'll be closer to normal temperatures around here, but we could sit a little bit above normal. I certainly do support the idea that we'll be in the below normal precipitation range because it doesn't look very favorable for us to see a lot of moisture. However, looking farther to the south, you see the below normal in Arizona on temperatures and the above normal precipitation potential across Arizona, Utah, and Nevada. That could be setting the stage for what might happen in the following week, depending on where that high pressure system sets up. We could be looking at some moist atmosphere moving our way. We could be looking at some thunderstorms. It's really too early to say, but we can put this out there as saying something could be coming by about mid-month. We'd all like to wish you guys a very happy and safe Independence Day. And of course, thank you for joining us. Your next briefing will be on Thursday, July 5th. In the meantime, you can reach us here 24/7, even on the holiday, to answer all of your fire weather questions. Again, we hope you have a very happy, healthy, and safe Independence Day holiday. Thank you.